Ever notice how you plan to change your life? Wake up early, study, hit the gym, start that business. But when it's time to actually do it, your brain says, nah, maybe tomorrow? What if I told you your brain is not lazy, it's protective? And that there's a psychological loophole, a way to trick it into doing hard things effortlessly. Today, I'll show you how one ordinary person, burned out, stuck, and trapped by procrastination, rewired his brain using a system backed by science, and how you can do the same. Meet Daniel, a 28-year-old with dreams louder than his discipline. Every morning, he'd wake up motivated, ready to change his life. But then reality would whisper, maybe later. He'd scroll, delay, distract, convince himself that he works better under pressure. But deep down, Daniel knew the truth. He wasn't lazy. He was scared. Scared of failure. Scared of discomfort. Scared of starting. Because what if starting proves you're not as capable as you thought? The human brain hates uncertainty. It's designed to keep you safe, not successful. So every time you decide to do something hard, your brain treats it as a threat. And when it senses threat, it activates the amygdala, the same part that lights up when you're in real danger. To your brain, studying for an exam, launching a business, or even working out feels like standing on a cliff edge. So what does it do? Pulls you back into the familiar, into comfort, into safety. Dopamine, the chemical of anticipation, is hijacked by short-term pleasures. Every scroll, every notification, every like, tells your brain, hey, you don't need to work hard to feel good. I'll give you the reward now. And slowly, the brain forgets how to wait, how to work for satisfaction. But Daniel wasn't a quitter. He just needed to outsmart his own biology. And that's when he stumbled on something that would change everything. A concept called the activation threshold. It's the invisible barrier between thinking and doing. And if you can get past the first 20 seconds, your brain switches from resistance to flow. Here's what scientists found. The hardest part of doing anything isn't the doing, it's the starting. Once you begin, your brain releases dopamine not as a reward, but as fuel. That's why motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after. So Daniel tried something strange. He set a timer for just 5 minutes. He told himself, I'm not going to work, I'm just going to start. He opened the document, typed one line, then another, and something shifted. The resistance melted. What felt like effort 5 minutes ago became momentum. You see, once you start, your brain moves from the amygdala, fear and avoidance, to the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center. And in that moment, you go from being emotionally reactive to logically active. That's the trick. Don't convince your brain to do it. Bypass the debate entirely. Just start. Daniel turned this into a habit. Whenever his brain screamed, "This is too hard," he whispered, "Let's just do 5 minutes. 5 minutes of writing, 5 minutes of exercise, 5 minutes of cleaning." And almost every time, 5 minutes turned into 45. Not because he forced himself, but because he tricked his brain into crossing the activation threshold. You can't wait to feel motivated to act. You must act to feel motivated. The 5-minute rule was the beginning, but Daniel wanted more. He wanted to sustain the habit. So he added 3 brain hacks, backed by psychology, proven by repetition. 1. The dopamine detox. Every day, Daniel noticed that his attention was fragmented. Every time he picked up his phone, his brain got a tiny shot of dopamine. It's like snacking before dinner, you lose appetite for the main course. So he decided to fast from dopamine. No social media in the morning. No notifications till after 12 p.m. Just silence, focus, depth. At first, it felt like withdrawal. But after a week, something incredible happened. He started craving progress, not pleasure, because his brain was learning to find reward in effort, not escape. 2. The visual anchor. Humans are visual creatures. So Daniel placed a single sticky note on his wall. It read, "Just start." Every time he looked at it, his brain associated it with action. It wasn't motivation, it was conditioning. Think of it like Pavlov's dog experiment, but for productivity. You train your brain to associate the trigger, seeing the note, with a response, taking action. After 21 days, Daniel no longer needed the note. The behavior had become automatic. 3. The reward reversal. Most people reward themselves before they've earned it. Daniel flipped it. He used what neuroscientists call dopamine anchoring. Instead of rewarding himself for starting, he reserved pleasure only for after completing a hard task. So his brain learned, effort equals reward, and soon work became addictive. The irony? The more Daniel tricked his brain, the less he needed to, because discipline once forced became familiar, and once familiar became fun. Most people think self-discipline means punishment, but true discipline is freedom. Freedom from overthinking, freedom from procrastination, freedom from the constant battle between I should and I will. And here's the paradox. You don't need more motivation to win this battle. You need less friction. Daniel stopped trying to change everything at once. He changed one thing, his starting habit. He realized that the brain's reward system doesn't respond to goals. It responds to progress. Tiny, visible wins. Each time he started, he got a small reward loop. And that loop became his new identity. He wasn't someone trying to be productive anymore. He was productive. But here's the twist. Even after all this progress, Daniel hit a wall again. He plateaued. After months of consistency, Daniel began to lose that initial spark. The dopamine rush faded. The 5-minute trick didn't excite him anymore. He wasn't failing. But he wasn't growing either. He had mastered discipline but forgotten purpose. You can train your brain to work hard, but without meaning, hard work turns mechanical. So Daniel paused. He asked himself a simple but terrifying question. Why am I doing this? That's when it hit him. He wasn't chasing productivity. He was chasing progress towards something bigger. He remembered his dream, to build a business that helped people overcome procrastination. Suddenly, the hard tasks made sense again. Purpose reignited dopamine, and the brain, once tricked, was now trained. Here's the formula Daniel discovered. The blueprint to trick your brain into doing hard things. 1. Shrink the start. Make it so easy your brain can't say no. 2. Rewire dopamine, reward effort, not escape. 3. Anchor triggers, use visual cues to bypass resistance. 4. Remove friction. Set up your environment for momentum. 5. Reconnect to purpose. Emotion fuels consistency. You're not fighting laziness. You're fighting biology. But biology can be trained. And when you train your brain to find reward in the hard things, that's when life transforms. The difference between who you are and who you could be is hidden in that tiny gap between intention and action. And that's where the trick lies. Let's break it down deeper. When you resist doing something hard, your brain is predicting pain. Not physical pain, but emotional discomfort. So, it floods your body with anxiety. Your heart beats faster. You scroll instead of starting. This is your brain's way of saying, I'd rather feel temporary relief than long-term growth. But here's the plot twist. When you start the task anyway, you send a new signal. No, this isn't danger. This is progress. And with repetition, your brain reprograms its prediction. The fear fades. The effort feels normal. That's neuroplasticity, the art of teaching your brain to stop running from discomfort. Daniel realized he didn't need motivation anymore. He needed trust that his brain would adapt. And it did. Because the more you act despite fear, the more the brain rewires fear into familiarity. That's how you trick your brain into doing hard things. Not by fighting it, but by teaching it that hard things are safe. When people saw Daniel's transformation, they asked for his secret. He said, "It's not that I found a shortcut. I just stopped negotiating with myself." He learned that motivation is a feeling, but discipline is a choice. And when that choice becomes habitual, it stops feeling hard altogether. But here's what most people miss. If you can trick your brain into doing hard things, you can trick it into becoming anything, because identity follows action. At first, Daniel had to force himself to start. Now he flows into it. The difference? Force relies on willpower. Flow relies on environment, momentum, and meaning. That's why high performers, athletes, writers, entrepreneurs, all have systems, not motivation. They design their day so that the right choice becomes the easy choice. You don't need to be extraordinary to do hard things. You just need to make the first 20 seconds non-negotiable. Because once you start, the brain takes care of the rest. Right now, there's something you've been avoiding. A task, a dream, a change. You've told yourself you'll do it tomorrow. But you and I both know, tomorrow is a trick your brain plays to keep you safe. So here's my challenge. Pick one thing, just one hard thing, and give it 5 minutes. 5 minutes to change your chemistry. 5 minutes to cross the activation threshold. 5 minutes to prove to your brain that you're in control. Because once you master the art of starting, you'll never fear doing hard things again. And maybe, just maybe, that's how you finally become unstoppable.